Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Christina, and in today's video, I'm going to be recapping December for you, talking to you all about what we ended up doing the month of December and what our plans are for January. Before I start talking about my December, I want to hear from you guys. Let me know down in the comments below. How was your December? What went well? What maybe didn't go so well? What do you want to change in the new year or in the month of January? So I can tell you for us, we don't have any huge changes that are coming for the new year, and thinking about the start of a new calendar year and just thinking about sort of like what feels like the second half of the homeschool year, even though we homeschool year round. And so technically it's not, it just feels like a new season every time after the holidays. I usually take time to kind of assess what's working, what's not, what needs to change, but this is something I'm always doing, so it's not that much different than any other month. So as I think about it, there are very little things that will be changing as far as like curriculum or our homeschool rhythms or how we do things. And I'm really not adding in anything new that I haven't already shared with you guys, but what you will find is kind of like what things we're picking back up that we maybe put to the side as we really focused on Christmas school during the month of December, focusing on multiple different Advent resources that we really enjoyed, as well as our Christmas curriculum that we did and some other curriculums and Christmas resources that we wove into that. So I'll talk to you a little bit about how that went and then share with you the things that are coming back in January or that we're finally starting and things like that. So if you caught my December plans and goals video, I talked with you guys about how I was going to be focusing heavily on Christmas school, that our main focus was going to be a connected Christmas around the world from Treehouse Schoolhouse. It was our first time using a curriculum from Treehouse Schoolhouse, so that was new for us at that point, and we loved it. We loved it way more than I even expected we were going to. I second guessed that choice after I got the curriculum and was like, maybe I should have just done their regular connected Christmas and not their connected Christmas around the world. I'm like, do I really care about doing geography right now? And so I questioned that decision, but me and my kids ended up loving it. And I feel like that added component of the geography and looking at different cultures and how they celebrate was really interesting to my kids, especially my older kids, who obviously are more familiar and well-versed in the Christmas story and the Bible readings and all of that. Although those things were really still special and beautiful and a good focus for us, it added another layer for my older kids that I felt was really helpful and really engaging for them. So I was really excited about that. Highly recommend it for next year. If you remember, we really enjoyed it. I'm sure we won't repeat it next year, but I would maybe look into the regular connected Christmas or possibly a different Christmas curriculum. I really do enjoy Christmas schooling during the month of December. So we did that. We did our Advent readings. We had the Cradle to the Cross Advent readings from the Keeping Company, along with the wooden wreath and all of those things that I shared, and we really enjoyed that. A couple of books that I shared that I had shared in previous years that we did again this year, or kind of picked up where we left off in previous years, was The War on Christmas and The History of Christmas, both of which we really enjoyed, again, especially for my older kids, because it really dug deeper into all of these different aspects of Christmas, culturally, historically, religiously, all of those things. So that was really good too. That went really, really well. Our secondary focus was to continue Playful Pioneers, which has been more of our primary focus this school year to finish this up. This is something that we worked through the first half of slowly last school year. Not even really the full half. We stopped for summertime, even though we did light schooling in the summer, and then we picked it back up, I think, in October. And then that was our main focus, I guess, really just for October and November so far this year. And now we are picking that back up with it as our main focus. Right now we are on week 22 and there are 30 weeks. So that leaves us with 9 weeks left. And I would really like to wrap it up in the next 6 to 8 weeks, because I really do want to start on ancient history, either through The Precious People from the Peaceful Press or Ancient Civilizations by Gather Round Homeschool, or weaving together both. So I'll keep you guys posted. I'm hoping that we are done with this no later than the end of February, because what I've been doing is sort of trying to condense and combine like 2 weeks into one, since many of the things that are listed here as suggestions or just rhythms to follow are things that we already do anyway. And so yeah, I will keep you posted how we do that, but we are picking up with week 22, and hopefully we will get half of those 9 remaining weeks done in the month of January. However, I do have a trip in January, which I'll tell you guys about in a little bit. So we did continue this through the month of December. However, certain things we didn't do, like we have been doing with this as the Bible reading, Wonderful Ancient Psalms Ever New. This has been our devotional or our Bible reading to go along with Playful Pioneers, but we didn't use this at all during the month of December because we focused on our Christmas curriculum, which had its own Bible readings, and we were doing our Advent readings. So we will be picking this back up in the month of January. Other things that we'll be doing in there are, I don't always share like the specifics of what's happening in Playful Pioneers because it really covers a lot of American history, but it's literature based. So I figured I would just share with you as I was organizing things to prepare for January, some of the library books that I checked out for the next few weeks in the curriculum. So they are all based on immigration. So here are a few of the picture books just to give you an idea of how you focus on some of the topics of American history, much of which happens through picture books, which I love. And then here's one that is just from our own collection that isn't a specific one that is suggested in the curriculum, but obviously goes along with these. So we will read these over the next week or two. And then that just gives you an idea of some of the things that we are doing in Playful Pioneers. We are still reading On the Banks of Plum Creek. If you're unfamiliar, the Little House series is the main chapter book read aloud that goes throughout the entirety of the Playful Pioneers curriculum. So we'll continue with that as well. We did continue with that read aloud throughout the month of December, and we will just continue on with that, going into the next book and all of those things as we continue Playful Pioneers. Other things that we did in December that we really loved, other than A Connected Christmas Around the World, is we did pull from the Christmas guide from the Peaceful Press for some read alouds and little activities specifically for my younger two who are 3 and 5. And then we continued with our letter of the week for the most part for my 3 and 5-year-olds. And we pulled from the Peaceful Preschool curriculum for that, which is what we typically do. Again, that took more of like a back seat as we focused on Christmas school, but we did continue with it. So we did M last week for the last month of December. And so we are starting with N this week, and we're about halfway through the alphabet. So I feel good about where we are. We're not in a rush, and we're just making progress. I've seen major progress in learning through very gentle activities that we've done. Like I am not doing a ton of academics or formal academics or lessons with my 3 and 5-year-old because I don't think it's necessary, but I just lay out these activities and resources for them and make these things available for them to learn through play, and they really are learning a lot that way. So it's been really cool to watch that happening. My 5-year-old is really into addition and subtraction right now. It's something that he wanted to learn on his own. So I've just been following his lead on that. We are not using a math curriculum. We've just been using a lot of manipulatives and toys to do this, just different activities. We're using a couple of resources from the 12 Weeks of Winter, which For the Love of Homeschooling put out. We're on to like week 4 now, but they have some really cool, like fun math activities in there for both my 5-year-old and my 8-year-old, because they have multiplication and division activities in there as well. And so I'll link that down below. It's really cool. It's like each week there's a different theme, and you can get just like any of the weeks, or you can get all of the weeks, or however you want. But we've been enjoying some of those activities just for some fun learning activities. The other thing that we did during the month of December is the watercolor class from Brighter Day Press. It was the winter and Christmas. And so what we did is we did a lot of the Christmas, more Christmassy ones leading up to Christmas, saving the ones that are just more wintry and not Christmassy so that we could do those throughout the month of January to continue enjoying watercoloring and just slowing down and being creative and enjoying the cozy season, even though Christmas is over. So I'm really happy that we did it that way. So that is something that will continue in January, is to do some of those paintings. And there are suggested picture books that go along with each painting, not necessary, but I really like that. So some of those we'll do the picture book, and then we'll do the painting to go along with the picture book. So I'm excited to continue that. My kids have really enjoyed it. We made cards out of a lot of the paintings. So we would use like watercolor paper and fold it in half, and then just do the watercolor painting on the front of the card. And that makes really beautiful cards. So maybe in the future we'll continue that and use them for like thank you cards and thinking of you cards and birthday cards and things like that, because we really enjoyed it. And I feel like all of us have seen our watercolor skills improve between doing the monthly watercolor tutorials that are a part of Nature Study Club for From the Love of Homeschooling, and also starting the ones from Brighter Day Press as well. So I'm definitely going to look into more of her seasonal watercolor guides in the future, because I really enjoyed them, and so do my kids. And it's something all of us can do together, and it's super fun. So that is something we'll continue in January as well, and that also went really well in December. We did tons of crafting. We made ornaments, which was super fun. Let me see if I have one. Oh yeah, I still have my tree up. So one thing we'll do in January towards the beginning, this one's really stuck on here, is a lot of cleaning and purging. So I always do that before Christmas. This is like really on here. I always do that before Christmas, but then once we clean up all the Christmas stuff, another clean and purge happens. So we did these clay ornaments. We rolled out, we took a piece of a tree clipping off of our Christmas tree and rolled it, or we rolled out the clay first, then rolled on the pine clipping, and then used cookie cutters to cut them out and then let them dry overnight, and then we painted them. So these are really cute. We did some of them for our own tree and then did some of them as gifts. We did hand-poured candles as gifts, and we did lots of baking and cooking and bread making and all of those things. So super cozy month. I really feel good about how December ended up going. Our Christmas was really beautiful. We spent lots of really nice time with family and with each other. So it's been really nice and just simple. We took a couple of trips during December. We went to the Adirondacks again, which was beautiful. We stayed at a place called Black Pine Lodge, which was so beautiful. We love the Adirondacks. If you've been around here over on my Instagram, you probably know that by now. This place was gorgeous. I think it's only about 6 months old. It's an Airbnb. It sleeps, I think, 8 people. It was super spacious for us. It had a beautiful layout, beautiful decor, a hot tub, a sauna, a fire pit, a pool table for the kids, a really open floor plan so that we could spend lots of time together, even when I was cooking meals. It was just really, really special. So I highly recommend this place. Definitely one of my top picks for the Adirondacks. If you are looking to visit, there's tons of places to ski and snowboard and cross-country ski and snowshoe and hike and all of those things during this time of year. And in the summer, it's absolutely beautiful as well. So definitely go check out Black Pine Lodge. I link that in the description box anytime I share a place that we have visited, because I find it super helpful when other people share places they have visited. It makes it easier to choose a place when I want to go somewhere. Another place that we went was somewhere we went for the very first time, and that was the Poconos in Pennsylvania, the Pocono Mountains. It was our first time. We stayed at El Ranchito, which was this really adorable cabin in a gated community in the Arrowhead Lake community, and it was situated around a lake. It was walking distance to the beach and a playground. It was, again, super cozy. It had a hot tub and an outdoor fire pit and an indoor fireplace, nice open floor plan again. There was a soaking tub, which was really nice. We definitely made use of that. Lots of games. We had a really, really, really nice time there. I definitely want to go back to the Poconos because I feel like there's so much there, and we only went one time. We only went for a few days, so I just can't wait to try it again. And then we just chilled out and relaxed and really focused on home and coziness the rest of the month. This month in January, we only have one trip planned, and that was intentional. And I feel really good about that decision because it is a further trip. So I am actually taking just my 16-year-old son on a trip to Colorado. This was his 16th birthday present. His birthday was back in November, and I gifted him, or really my husband and I gifted him this trip with me to Colorado, and we're so excited. If you've been around, I've shared that his favorite book series is Little Britches, and he's almost done with the series. He's like almost done with the second to last book, and I'm like trying to hold off on giving him the last book because I think it'd be really cool for him to read it there. Well, it's based in Colorado, the book series, and so for his 16th birthday, I gave him the book that he was like going to be reading next at that point, which I think was like the 6th book. And I made a bookmark with the place that we're staying and our flight itinerary and all that as a surprise to him that I was taking him to Colorado for his birthday. So that was really cool. He was so excited. We are both super excited, but again, we've never been to Colorado, neither one of us. So if you have any tips for traveling to Colorado for places that we like are must see, like if you had to pick one place in Colorado that we could not miss, if this was our only chance to go there, please put it down in the comments. Do's and don'ts, tips, all of it. Put them down below. I can't wait to hear if you guys have some tips for us because we're excited, but it is a semi-short trip, so we're not going to be able to do a ton, but just the adventure alone will be really special, and that one-on-one time together. I get anxious leaving my kids at all, so even leaving them for a few days is like really outside of my comfort zone, but it'll be fine. It'll be great. So we are going to study Colorado a little bit towards the beginning of the month as we prepare for our trip, really just 1 or 2 days of using part of the unit from the Waldock Way. We've done some states in there. It's called Traveling the States, and it's just like a simple study of all the different 50 states, and we just pick and choose. Like if we're going to travel to a state, we'll study that state for a couple of days and just get books from the library and learn about it. And I feel like it's cool, even if my other kids aren't going, for them to learn about the place that we're going. Like for example, when I was going to Tennessee for a homeschool conference, we did a little bit of learning about Tennessee so that they can kind of like have some context of like where I was and a little bit about the place, and maybe make it a little less like foreign to them, like where did mom go, if that makes sense. So we'll be doing a little bit of that in January. And then jumping back into some other things that we had been doing, like the Burgess Bird Book of Children. We did not touch this in December. We really love it. It's a fun book. I did create like a notebooking guide for it, but we've gone past that because it doesn't go through the whole book. So we're not technically doing my notebooking guide anymore, but we are doing a lot of the same activities that are suggested in the notebooking guide. If you're interested in that, I'll link it down below. It's on my Etsy shop. But we'll just continue going through this book. I'm not in a huge rush because I actually like not finishing it too soon. We have a lot of bird books out. We do a lot of bird watching out our windows and when we go on hikes and things like that. So I like the idea of stretching this out. So I'm not in a rush to finish this at all, but we will pick it back up and do at least a couple of chapters during the month of January. It's a longer book. It has like 35 chapters, very short chapters, but it's a fun one. It's kind of a classic Charlotte Mason living book that's like on all of the recommended book lists. We'll pick this back up as well. Then Sings My Soul, 150 of the World's Greatest Hymn Stories. And this is just like a simple reading about the history of the hymn and then the hymn itself. We will do this because Playful Pioneers has a monthly hymn that you study, but we find that we want to do more than one hymn a month because we get a little bit bored with it if we don't. So we will include some of this in the month of January as well. So our main focus being Playful Pioneers for the month of January. We'll touch on Colorado a little bit. We'll read the Burgess Bird book. We'll do some hymn studies. We'll continue this in Playful Pioneers. And then also, I had mentioned in one of my last couple of videos, or more than that, that we were going to be starting the Health and the Physical Body unit by The Good and the Beautiful. We read the picture book that goes along with this, The Story of a Cold, and we actually really loved it. It was really interesting, really got into a lot of the scientific aspects of how colds work, and kind of how they develop in the body and things like that, and how the body fights them off. And so we read that, but then we never actually ended up starting the unit. So we will jump into that in January. Another thing that I shared a couple of months ago that we were going to be doing was this Survive Off the Land unit from Campfire Curriculums. We never got around to doing this. This is something I definitely want to get to in January. Lastly, I think, because I'm not planning a ton of things for January because I want us to have a lot of cozy reading time, painting. My kids are going to be doing snowboarding and skiing lessons, so that will be one full day really a week for the next couple of months. And then we'll have like some wild and free group meetups and our other homeschool group that we'll do. And so I don't want to pile a ton of things on us. Like I said, I'm not adding in anything that I didn't already have. We're just picking things back up or starting things that we meant to start but didn't. So one of those is my Hygge study. I was going to do this before Christmas, and then I had like this light bulb moment. I think I shared it with you guys in my December plans video where I'm like, no, anything that's more wintry or cozy themed, like I am going to wait until after Christmas when you just kind of are like, what do we do now? And just kind of keep the cozy vibes going. So this will also connect well with the Christmas around the world because we'll look at Scandinavia and the Scandinavian countries and kind of like this concept of Hygge. So there's a little bit of geography and culture woven in, and like some cozy activities and ways to implement this concept of Hygge in our home. So I'm really excited to start this. This is also on my Etsy if you're interested in doing something like this with your kids. So that is really all we are going to be doing academically, other than my kids continuing on with their independent work, which is really just math and language arts and like some Bible study stuff that they do independently. That's really all they're doing independently at this point, and it's really working well because I've really been trying to make sure they have time in their day to pursue their passions and their interests and their talents, and we've really seen the fruit of that. My 12-year-old, I've shared before, is really into drumming. His skills have greatly improved. He can tune his own drums and change his drum heads, and he's improved in his drumming itself. And so him having the time to do that, as well as pursue his art, because he's also an amazing artist. So he paints acrylics and oil pastels and oil paints and watercolors and sketches, and he's pretty incredible. So him having time to hone that skill as well is really important. He's also a great basketball player. I feel like he's such an interesting kid because he's a musician, an artist, and an athlete, and so many other things too. Like, they don't need labels, right? But I just feel like it's interesting that he's really good at things that are seemingly unrelated. I guess maybe he's good with his hands. That would make sense, right? And also just very artistic. My 16-year-old is super into working with his hands in sort of a different way. He likes taking things apart, and like he'll take apart small engines and his airsoft guns and all these different things. And he's definitely into that. And I think giving him time to do that has been really valuable. His brain works in a totally different way from mine. And I can't really support him in terms of the knowledge and the teaching, but I can give him the time and the resources to develop that skill and that interest that he has. He also really likes to play the guitar and read. He's like my reader. He's the one that will sit there and read for hours without anybody telling him to read anything. Whereas my 12-year-old, it's got to be like a book that he really, really loves. Otherwise, I do need to say like, hey, Jax, get some reading in. What book are you reading? And just really encourage him. Whereas my 16-year-old, you do not have to tell him to read. My 8-year-old, you can already see that she's developing even more of an interest in art as well. And she's a gymnast. She loves gymnastics. She's starting back up with ballet, which is something that she stopped doing for a year or more because it was something that I put her in, and she loved it until she didn't, and she wanted to do gymnastics. So we pulled her out and she started gymnastics back up. But now she's been asking to go back to ballet. So she's going to try that again. Like I said, they're starting skiing and snowboarding lessons. And our days are very rich and very full. And I don't feel the need to fill them with so much formal academics. I do have some things, like tons of curriculum really, that I'd love to get to eventually. Like economics is something that I am going to touch on with my 16-year-old. It was planned for this year, but if for some reason we don't, then we'll do it next year. Same thing with intro to psychology. I've been wanting to do that for at least a year now from Gather Round Homeschool, and I definitely plan to get to it. I just don't know when we will get to it. So that's another thing that we'll touch on. Personal finance is something that we'll circle back around to sometime this year or next year with my 16-year-old, because we did it a couple of years ago and I had planned to circle back around to it in high school. Some kind of entrepreneurship unit, either the one from Gather Round Homeschool or from Dave Ramsey, because my 16-year-old and my 12-year-old also shown interest in having their own businesses. They've started their own lawn care business together, which is really adorable. And so supporting that is also something that I want to do through our academics, as well as time and resources for them. Other things for my littles, like I said, we'll continue on with our letter of the week, lots of learning through play. We have our winter knowledge crate still, which is something that I shared with you guys in December. I did a full unboxing of it, and I shared that while we might do a couple of activities from it, which we did, I planned to save most of it for after Christmas, which is what I ended up doing. And there's just so much like winter and snow and Arctic stuff in there that is perfect for the month of January. So they'll be doing a lot of their learning through play using the winter knowledge crate. So I always have a discount code in knowledge crates. I will link all of that down below if you're interested in that. And I've said this a million times before, but it is preschool in a box. So for my 3-year-old and my 5-year-old and even my 8-year-old, she's obviously not preschool, but there are so many art and science and crafts and books and literacy and math activities. They're incredible. So much fun, so engaging. It's just such a huge part of the hands-on activities that we do. One last thing that I almost forgot that we will touch on a little bit that we haven't really done in a long time is exploring nature with children. We used to do exploring nature with children quite a bit, and we sort of stopped because it got a little bit repetitive because we had done it for so long and we did it so much. But we never really did a ton of exploring nature with children in the month of January. There are a couple themes in there or topics for January that I definitely want to touch on, January and February, I think. So we will dabble in a little bit of exploring nature with children as well. I'll try to remember to link them down below also. I think that is everything. So I would love to hear if you're doing anything similar for January. If you're doing something different, I would love to hear that too. Oh, we did finish the book October in December, and I had shared along the way that I was like on the fence about it, but we did end up finishing it. I did really like the way it ended, and I'm happy that we stuck with it. I really thought that it was a good book. I would say 10 and up. There was a couple parts that I was on the fence about for my 8-year-old, but she really loved the book as well. So I wanted to share because I told you guys I would follow up and keep you posted and let you know. So we did really like that one. But other than that, I think that is pretty much it. I don't have any plans specifically for any other chapter book read alouds, other than like picking back up with the Burgess Bird book for children and continuing on with the Little House series. I'm sure something else will end up in there, but again, I didn't want to add in a ton of extra stuff when there are already so many things that we could pick back up that I still wanted to do with them. So let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, you can put them down in the comments below. If you're not already subscribed, I would love if you would stick around and subscribe. If you're new here, introduce yourself down in the comments below. I love to get to know you guys. If you're not already following me over on Instagram, you can follow me there at rooted_homelife. I share a lot more of our day-to-day over there. You can see more of like how these things play out on a day-to-day basis, a lot more of our traveling and travel schooling and our adventures and all of that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. I hope to see you soon in one of my next videos, and until next time, stay rooted.